Okay, welcome to the second official Black Friday live stream that we're going to be doing. If you are tuned in on YouTube or on Facebook on Alpha Universe, just take note that this is a Q&A session also. So get your questions ready. I just want to tell you guys a couple of things before we jump into all the information and everything that's happening. So the first thing is, if you guys see me looking down here, this basically means that I'm just controlling the live stream because everything is happening here, camera switches and everything. So that is the first thing. And then also I'll be checking the Q&A here. So that's, if my attention is here, that's what it's for. Then the second thing is the actual Black Friday deals. So I'm not going to be sharing them because there's a massive list. Like, I'm talking like a very huge list. So I'm not going to go through all of them. But you can find them on the Alpha Universe site, the www.cashbacks.co.za website. So you can go check there. There's all the lenses that's on the deal. But the savings are up to 12,500 Rand. So it's huge money. It's very aggressive. So go knock yourself out. The only two cameras that are not actually on this deal is the A7C and the A7S III because they're currently already on the promotion with the pre-order and all of that stuff. So that's why they are not on there. And there's also a few lenses that are excluded, but it's all the information is on www.cashbacks.co.za. And then we have something else that's happening. So if you register on Alpha Universe, so that is alphauniverse-mea.com. If you register there for any of these activities, that basically means you stand a chance to a 2,000 Rand voucher, which is applicable at any retailer. We will draw those from tomorrow. So we're doing the first one tomorrow, and then we're doing another one on Friday, and we'll do a raffle draw, and then we'll allocate your voucher to you. So if you want to stand a chance to win that voucher, just go register on the alphauniverse-mea.com for one of these events. And then, like I said before, this is also a Q&A session. So on Facebook or on YouTube, you can actually drop your comments, and also on the Alpha Universe. And then as we continue, we're going to give them to Luke and Hloni. So without further ado, I'm actually going to introduce them. So we have XCIV team here, Sony Alpha ambassadors, and also Offensa here. So I'm going to hand over to them. Guys, you're welcome to introduce yourself.
Hello, welcome guys to the stream.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm Offense, and I'm a cinematographer, and I am a Sony Alpha ambassador. I shoot commercials, I shoot music videos, I shoot short films for online. I'm sure some of you are familiar with some of my work. Yeah, that's what I do. I shoot in South Africa and the rest of the world. Yeah, welcome to the stream, yo.
Welcome. We are XCIV. We do very similar things to Offense, except we do it in Cape Town, the land where he will not stand. Like Offense, we're here to make South Africa look as good as possible because she deserves it. And also thanks to Sony Alpha, we also spend a lot of time teaching you how to make the stuff we make.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, we basically do the same thing, but we've never had 4 of our YouTube videos in places 1, 2, 3, and 4 of South African trending YouTube page.
So congratulations, Offense. 2 weeks before the live stream began, you made us all look bad, but it's an honor to be sitting here with you today.
No problem.
I'm Hloni Coleman, by the way.
I'm Luke Bell.
There we go.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So what we're basically going to be doing now is we're going to jump into some presentation. We're going to be talking about specifically the gear that is on the Black Friday deals. And of course, because we're so excited about the S3 launch and these guys are filmmakers, we're also going to be obviously talking about that camera. But yeah, I think I'm going to hand over to XCIV team. So they have some presentation prepared for us. And let's take it from there. So let me just switch over to the presentation here. That's it.
Thank you, Herman. Yeah, so we are video creators now day to day, but I think Luke definitely got his start in video, but I came from a photography background. And what that really helped me with today is that my photography developed and my video developed alongside using Sony Alpha cameras. And the images we have for you today really helped create that push and pull where you love video, you want to emulate the films you've watched as a child, you want to emulate the things you're seeing on big screens, but those images, those movies are created with classic cameras, right? And because I came from this Sony Alpha background, this mirrorless background, when it came to making my own stuff, I knew the things that I wanted to be making and what I wanted them to look like, but I also knew what my cameras were capable of, right? And I knew the things that my camera, this tiny little camera that I could have in my backpack every day, I knew the things that it could do that those cameras couldn't do. And I think that shapes our day-to-day creation. Luke is an amazing gearhead, and anytime we get a new thing in, right? Like, you need to know your gear, and he'll go, oh my gosh, we can do this thing. And it used to be that we can do this thing that you've seen in this film or that this director loves doing. But with the recent releases of Sony Alpha cameras, we can do, like, can we do this thing? Because no one's ever been able to do this thing before. And that's what makes me really excited. And that's kind of why I think these images are a really good illustration of how I learned to think differently because I had Sony Alpha by my side. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's take a look.
Jumping straight in. So what you guys are looking at right now is it's a tripod portrait. It's the classic thing, right? When Sony mirrorless cameras came out, right from the get-go, they had excellent low light performance. And the first camera that I actually bought myself that really shaped my career was the A7S II. And for a long time, my life was lived in a low light environment. So I never thought about, like, is it too dark to go for this shot, right? And when we were in Iceland, when we saw these northern lights, the first time we saw it was through the viewfinder of the A7S II, right? This camera could see the northern lights before we could. And it was this amazing experience where it led us to this roadside, and we were able to capture this without having to worry about, like, is the camera good enough to get it? And that really shaped how I started doing low light photography, where I could just, with my hand, with a very dim light source from the moon to a candle, just pick my camera up and take a photo. And nowadays I do the same thing. We recently shot a music video where pitch black and it's lit by a candle, right? And it's learning that you can push the camera, that you can do these things that no one was ever able to do, that has shaped how we shoot today. And it's not just about low light performance, right? Something that's really important with low light photography, with low light videography, is at the end of the day, like, you can't tell a compelling image with just a bright gradient, right? If I can show the stars, that doesn't tell me a story. It doesn't bring in a narrative. So you also have to have a camera that has excellent dynamic range so that you can pull people into that. You can go, I want to capture a fire and a mom and her son sitting in front of a fire, but I also want to show those stars, right? I want to be able to capture these dishes, and this is moonlight, right? I had to underexpose quite heavily because, like, with any other camera, the moon was so bright that you would never be able to get those stars in the background and this moonlit dish. Or any other camera, you wouldn't have to worry about the moon being too powerful of a light source. So it really changed how I thought about light, how I thought about constraints. And yeah, I mean, to be frank, I'm kind of terrible with artificial light as a result, because I was able to just use these real light sources. And lastly, I mean, for the A7S II, people don't think of hybrid cameras or the A7S series as a photo camera, right? Yeah. But something I learned so truly is that on this trip, the only thing I had with me was my A7S II and a prime lens. And that meant that I had my camera with me every day. So when we were walking past a building and my friend who's the manager of this building was like, hey, let's pop up to the rooftop, it meant that I had my camera with me in that moment. And that's something where I literally just came back from holiday and I had the A7S III with me. There was never a thought of, like, is this camera too large? are these lenses too cumbersome? I just bring it because I know that it's always going to give me what I need, and I know that there's no cost to bringing it because it's so light. And for me, that's the journey I've come on personally, and it's how a lot of the core tenets of this weird and wonderful thing that these Sony full-frame mirrorless cameras are has shaped how I think about creating.
Okay, so before we actually continue with the presentation, I'm just gonna reintroduce everything. So for those of you that just joined, just want to say welcome. We do have a Q&A session, so if you have questions for Luke, Hloni, or Fence, you can direct the questions directly to them. We're grabbing them from Facebook, from YouTube, from the Alpha Universe. So you're welcome to drop your questions there. I'll allocate them. And then also I want to remind you guys that all these Black Friday deals, they're massive. It's so aggressive. There's savings up to 12,500 Rand. So you can head over to www.cashbacks.co.za to see what lenses are there, or you can obviously just visit your local retailer. They have all the stocks, and they know, I mean, the prices are based on the retailer. So you can also visit your local retailer. And then I'm just quickly gonna go into a couple of questions and comments that I see here. So I can see Fatima, Team Sony, welcome. I can see that you're here. Matt Masson watching from Cape Town, loving this chat. Welcome, Matt. Then we have, is it Kitiki? We are here, welcome. So we have a bunch of comments here, so welcome to everyone. We have people joining from India, welcome also. Just to let you guys know, we are talking about the filmmaking industry, basically the filmmaking gear, what these guys have done with the gear that's currently on the Black Friday deals. So I'm gonna give over back to them on this presentation and let them continue with what they were busy with.
Jumping back, so so I think that I was with Sony Alpha kind of from the beginning. The first camera that I ever used was an A6000, and the low light capabilities were amazing. The dynamic range was amazing, but I think the thing that really enabled like me and us today to be confident single person shooters is when Sony's autofocus really came into its own. And this is something that Luke's keen to speak for. But I think that with the advent of the A7 III, it took these cameras that had caveats, right? They were incredibly good at one specific thing. They just demolished. That meant that I had to carry this camera with me, but then there were additional things I had to think about. But with the arrival of the A7 III, it really was the first camera that, there was nothing. It was just me and the thing I wanted to capture. And as a single unit, I mean, before we started a business together, the way that we created was in crews of one, right? And I would even be on larger sets of 70 people, capturing BTS, telling stories on that set. But you're the only person you have. So when you can trust your camera as much as you can trust another crew member, that really changes things, and that really removes the barriers between what you want to create. And this is an excellent example where we had someone doing parkour. There's so much to pull from. Any other camera would be like, am I trying to autofocus on the Ballards? Am I trying to autofocus on the mountain? And no, I had my crewmate with me in my hand, and it knew what we were making. And that was a phenomenal experience. And I think Luke has experienced similar things.
Oh, that's a cute one. So I think Sony was actually the first company to come out with animal eye autofocus. And when they did it, I was super excited because at that time I'd been shooting quite a lot of animals and also pets. And it's actually really hard to get focus on an animal's eye because you need to move the points around. And unlike humans, they've also got a snout, so it often focuses on their nose. So it was actually a super game-changing feature. And it means you can do shots like this at f1.4 and you'll get tack-sharp focus on the eyes of the animal, it's just beautiful. And this, I don't know if it works on fish. I can't remember.
Fair enough.
But this shot is something interesting to bring up, which is when you're underwater, you actually don't have a lot of light at all because most of it gets filtered out by the water, so it gets dark really quickly. And that's where the high ISO performance of the Sony cameras actually really comes into play. So that's just something that's another great feature of it. And of this guy, this is one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. We were on a beach in Antarctica, and these were the only 3 penguins on the beach. And if you look closely, you'll see that you've got 3 different types. You've got the Adelie penguin, you've got the Gentoo penguin, and the chinstrap penguin. And they just happened to all be there next to each other. So I obviously had to get a photo, so I got in place. But like the whole time they were just looking down, like pecking at their feathers. So I was just splashing photos. I think to get this one shot, I took about 70 photos. So just being able to do that, not worrying about the camera filling up or seizing on me was amazing and allowed me to get the shot. This also is a pretty cool one. It was similar to the penguins where he was only on this pole for about 30 seconds or so. So I only got one chance to shoot this, and then he flew away. And I was like, oh, like, did I get it? Like this, yeah, I was waiting for him to come back, and then I looked at the camera and I was like, well, there it is. I mean, that's the kind of reliability you get from the Sony camera with its speed and getting ready and autofocus and all of that. And now, since we're on the topic of birds, oh no, not yet. So this actually, funnily enough, when I was going to Svalbard, I was really interested to see whether the animal eye autofocus would work on things not like dogs and cats, and it actually worked on this walrus and the polar bears there, funnily enough, which made me very, very happy, unnecessarily so. But yeah, this is just another example of getting that tack sharp focus. You don't know when he's going to move. You don't know when he's going to go underwater. So it's super important to be able to rely on that. And then also this guy, using this lens, the 200 to 600, if you're on something like a 600, sometimes it's a bit too tight. So I was able to go back to, I think it was about 300 millimeters on this, and actually get a bit of a wider shot. So you get him in his landscape instead of just of him, which I actually ended up preferring.
Yeah. I think let's have Herman jump to Luke's video of the birds. I think we can get Luke get quite emotional while he tells his story. And I think it's an excellent example of just your gear's not getting in the way. People often think it's just technical, but shooting is a physical thing. So when you have heavy gear, when you have larger bodies, you might not be able to do the thing that Luke did.
Cool, so this was on my very last day in Papua New Guinea, and I was the only one willing to wake up at 4 a.m. to go bird watching. Everyone else was like, nah, I'm not down for that. And I got taken on this tiny little boat to this random part of the forest, and then we walked into the forest a bit, and then the guide pointed at a tree, like a bare tree sticking out of the middle of nowhere, and he was like, that's where the 12-wire bird of paradise comes. And I was like, cool, I'm just gonna set up my camera, but like, I'm not feeling that this is actually gonna happen. And then sure enough, about 10 minutes later, he popped up, his potential partner also popped up, they did their little dance. I don't know if we're still on it or not, we are. So it was the best bird watching experience I've ever had. And I was actually able to enjoy it because I knew that the camera was rolling, it was doing its thing, the focus was there. So it actually let me experience the moment as well. And it was kind of like watching a live David Attenborough documentary. It's the best way I like to describe it. And yeah, just having Sony there let me shoot it and enjoy it at the same time.
Wonderful. So I'm actually going to jump into a couple of questions quickly and comments. So Matt commented here, question for Luke, how did you get so awesome? So I don't know if you care to answer that one.
I think it's all Sony, hey?
I would definitely take credit for that.
Oh, you taking credit for me?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he was a beautiful mound of clay, and he has been
molded by clay skills.
Yeah, but the clay still has to be of quality.
That's true, that's true.
Okay. And then we actually have a comment here from Andre. He's saying Sony has definitely made life easier. I can't actually imagine having autofocus for video anymore. Can't not have it. It has come to the point where I really rely on it because it works so well. That's wonderful. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna jump back actually. Well, let me first introduce those of you that actually joined now. So if you've only joined now, I'm so sorry, you've already missed quite a lot. We still need to go into
Rewind.
We still need to go into Fedza. There's still a bit left of Luke and Shloni here. But just to let you know, so there's obviously very aggressive deals on the Black Friday, and it's not just Black Friday, it's Black November. So you can visit your local retailer and see all the deals from them. I don't know who your preferred retailer is, but there's tons of stuff on there. I know that the two bodies that are not included is the A7S3 and the A7C because they're currently already on the promotion with the pre-order and stuff. And then I also want to let you know, if you do register for one of these activities on the Alpha Universe, that is basically alphauniverse-mea.com. For one of these activities. That means you stand a chance of winning one of two 2,000 Rand vouchers that's available to make a purchase on any Sony gear. So we'll do the raffle draw tomorrow, so stay tuned for tomorrow's, and then also we'll do another raffle draw on Friday, which is going to be our final live streaming like this one. So, and also if you do have any questions, throw them to Facebook, to YouTube, to the Alpha Universe, wherever. We'll grab them from there, and then we'll feed them to these guys sitting here in front of me. They look super hungry. Okay.
Ask the questions, guys. Ask away. Ask away.
Okay, I'm going to jump back into the presentation of you guys.
Yeah, so I mean, finishing up, I suspect that a lot of you watching today are going on a similar journey we did, right? Normally the way that photography goes is you'll buy a body first and lenses will come after. You scrap together, you save as much as you can, and you buy a body and maybe you buy a lens. And I was definitely the same way. I had to beg, borrow, and steal to get my first camera. So to get a lens at the same time was an astronomical exercise. But I think that, I've been incredibly lucky and incredibly blessed to now have access to the G Master library. And I think that it's also, while these cameras are very clearly impressive when you go through a spec list, I think it's harder to communicate how similarly impressive the lensing options that are available are. And now as video creators in 2020, if you're entering the Sony family, you're absolutely spoiled for choice.
There's so many.
There's so many like ridiculously good lenses. And it's just about reducing those barriers. And it's also, it's a bit of this push and pull of like, you can get a lens that will, it seems weird because it's a lens, but it will enable you to do shots you were never able to do before, just because of that lens's characteristics.
And they work with APS-C and full frame.
Exactly.
So if you want to invest in a full frame lens now, because down the line you might get a full frame camera, but you only have APS-C, it's not going to go to waste, which is super nice and something quite unique to Sony actually.
Yeah, and these lenses, like the 24-70, it's been around a long time. We're just about to get our first one, right? Like that's how relevant it is to us. The library is phenomenal, and I'm just gonna click through so you guys get a good example. 24-70, it's the gold standard, right? It's the versatile lens. You get portrait compression, you get wide landscapes, you get astro. And especially for videography, it's your one-stop shop. It's the lens that I'm going to take with me when I'm on holiday or just doing a shoot by myself and I have to carry one lens. That's it. Lucas, you have things to say.
Yeah, so this I would say is the perfect example of the 24-1.4, what it can be used for. This is at 1.4, animal eye autofocus. It's tack sharp on his eye. You get a really nice wide portrait, but you also get that super nice shallow depth of field. You can see a little blur in the waves. It's one of the reasons it became my favorite lens.
It's the spot.
Absolutely. 16-35, it's the wide, right? It's a phenomenal lens, but also this photo illustrates just the actual optical quality of the lenses, right? Often when you're shooting with the wide, you've got distortion, you've got all these different factors. But when you shoot with this lens, you're able to show that incredible field of view without it feeling unnatural, right? You can show the scale without your brain going like, but this thing is bending, right? And it's just such a phenomenal tool. And now we have the ultimate guy, the big boy, the 12 to 24 2.8, which for me, going back to the days of sitting grabbing astro shots, being by myself on a mountainside at 2 o'clock in the morning, I now know that I like empirically have the best tool for the job. And it's not always, you don't always want to get an astro shot at 12, right? You might want to have some character in it. You might want to have some compression in it. And yeah, this lens is just, I cannot wait to be back with that sky above me. Yeah,
So
and that's it from us.
yeah, sorry to interrupt
No,
there.
no.
So actually we have a bunch of comments coming in here from YouTube and also from Facebook. So I'm going to run through them. They're specifically for Luke and Hloni at this stage. So the first question I have is with regards to the Nemo photo. So that is, what is the story behind the fish underwater? What's going on there?
Nice.
So there's a pretty good story there. I mean, I'm really bad at holding my breath. But in this case, in this scenario, we were not actually scuba diving. We were actually just free diving. That's what you would call it. And these clownfish were in an anemone, probably like 10 meters below sea level. So I literally had my camera on autofocus. I had it on burst mode. I swam down there as quickly as I could while equalizing, held my camera up to them, just held down the trigger, went back up, did that a few times until I got this particular shot. And yeah, it came out really nicely. And even though I only had the camera down there just for like 2 seconds, because that's all that I could handle, it was a lot of fun.
That's phenomenal. I didn't know that.
And then we have actually a few comments here. So people saying, "Oh, beautiful," oh my word, I would rather say. Good comments there. And then we have another question here from Anthony Mila. Sony represents. He is asking, how does story inform the ways in which you use various features of the Sony Alpha gear? So basically, how do you use Sony gear, basically to build your
Absolutely.
stories?
I think that there's one thing that I like, because I came from a mirrorless background, I didn't realize how obstructive it was until I saw it happening. But with photo and video, because we came from a space where we had EVFs, often when you have a performance, when you're taking photos or you're taking video, I see DSLR shooters like pull the camera down, right? And then they've got that 5-minute scowl where they're looking through their photos. But I always learned to preview like what I shot. Even if I'm watching playback, I'll watch it up at my eye, right? And it's a huge thing where then like the person doesn't release that energy, right? It's no one's fault. Like you see the camera go down, you see the photographer react, and you start to second guess yourself. So if it's in media res, if it's a documentary, if it's someone doing quite a strong performance, I didn't realize the utility and like the blessing that was coming from a mirrorless background and an EVF background until I saw other people like not being able to do that. So for me, it's about reducing it seems weird, right? You have a camera between you and the person, it's a barrier. But having that footnote of like, I am now looking at the thing you just gave me and I'm making a judgment call, hugely affects like the story you're able to tell after the fact, because you can never get that energy back after it's released.
True.
Yeah, I feel on that point, the biggest thing that drives how you tell a story, I think for me, is lighting. Like I can go into any set, to be honest, and I can use whatever camera that they have there, and I can use it to tell the story. So the biggest thing that changes the game for whatever it is that you're telling, wherever you're telling it, is the lighting. So if you are in a story background, you obviously have to use your lighting in such a way that, you know, you have your shadows, your looks are very contrasty, for instance, if you're telling drama. And then if you're telling comedy, you have to use like high key lighting where everyone's faces can be seen like properly. So just to give you an example. So I feel like this camera is so good in that you can go into any environment literally and use the camera and you'll get the perfect picture that you want to get for video. And like, I don't know, there's nothing else that can beat that, to be honest. Yeah. So it's all about the filmmaker themselves. Yeah.
And then we actually have a really, really cool question here from Kesnik. So if one has to, you know, come to Sony as a brand, what makes Sony different than the other brands? I'd love to hear this. I mean, I would really love to hear this.
Personally, for me, I feel Sony gives, it achieves everything that I need from a camera. In a sense that I can use a Sony camera to actually get the perfect picture that I want from the camera without having to do much. Because most of the stuff that we do, especially myself, when I'm shooting films, I'm not your type of, I shoot stuff with what the camera has and then I'm just gonna post it as it is from the camera. I'm still gonna go into post and then I'm gonna scrutinize the image, I'm gonna knock it down, you know, crushing blacks, pushing whites, all that stuff. And the camera just handles. That's the biggest thing that we want, especially because now, so let's say we're speaking with like the Sony a7S III. It's got 12-bit, 10-bit, right?
10-bit.
Yeah, it's got 10-bit color right now, which is just so supreme for when you're doing all your tweaks in post, and the fact that it can handle the picture that well.
Without overheating.
Exactly. Without the overheating, exactly. So that's one of the biggest things. I think even this overheating issue that Luke is talking about is a very big deal. It's for me, to be honest, it's a deal breaker. I can't use a camera where I'm gonna go on set and the camera will overheat, whether it does it in 2 hours or in 3 hours. Like a camera cannot overheat at all. A camera that's overheating is unusable. So the fact that Sony took the time, because I know we wanted this camera, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
At least.
They were relaxing. They were like, no. I'm sure they had this camera back then, and they were like, no, it's overheating.
We need to make it perfect, yeah.
No, we need to make it perfect. And they did. And right now, what do we have? One of the best mirrorless, what am I saying? The best mirrorless camera out right now. I can't even say that right now.
There you go.
Yeah, just to touch on that quickly, I would say the top things about Sony ahead of the rest would be the autofocus performance is incredible, especially with the newer cameras. Then it would also be the one lens mount, which you can literally use across cinema cameras, APS-C and full frame.
Yep.
And then the third thing, the main thing for me would be reliability, like we just discussed. You want a camera that you know is going to work. It's not going to let you down, and it's just going to let you focus on getting the shot rather than stressing about, is this camera going to work? Like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and the single mount solution, Luke underplayed it. That's one of the biggest things because, like you said, APS-C, the full frame mirrorless,
even a Sony Venice,
the cinema, even the Venice, they all have the same mount. Like, there's not like you don't have to think about, okay, I need to get this lens, and then I'm like, okay, that other brand, I need to get that as well. Everything is under one umbrella.
We still use lenses that we like the first E-mount lenses that we ever bought because they've worked with every camera up until now. Yeah.
So actually we have so many questions coming in here. I'm going to allocate some of them only during Ofense's talk because I think some of these questions will actually be answered. So Ofense, just to give you some idea, so there's a question for you specifically, advice on inspiring, you know, people that want to make, you know, videos for a living, specifically music videos in this manner. And then there's people asking questions about the color science, which I think Ofense will actually cover. They're specifically asking, did it improve in the new models? So we can talk about the 7C and the A7S III, but I'm going to leave it to Ofense also to answer.
Cool.
And then I actually want to answer this one question. This is the first question that we actually got on the Alpha Universe platform from Kayla. How do you find your style in shooting? That is something that I think we can cover now before we go into your talking. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, to be honest, it's a thing that takes some time. So what I would say is be patient with your art. just be very patient. Try out literally everything. Like to get to where I am right now, I didn't just go like, boom, here I am, and then I started doing it. No, it took me years. Like I've said before, I started shooting video in 2006. That's like a very long time ago. I don't even remember what 2006 looks like. Yeah, so it took me all the time. I would say I found my feet probably around 2016, 2017. That's where I actually found my feet, and I figured Kuti, videos, music videos are a thing that I like, as well as comedy. Comedy is a thing that I like, and storytelling in general. So that took me some time. I didn't just fall on that, and I knew about it. So as I said, be patient with your craft. Take time to actually figure out what is it that you love, what is it that you're good at, and then exploit that. Once you find something that you're very good at, make sure that you exploit it as much as you can. Make sure that you can monetize whatever it is that you're doing as much as you can. And then, yeah, you'll be a successful filmmaker. That's how I feel.
Become the best at what you're doing.
Yes, that's another thing. I always told myself that. Well, actually, I don't know if I should tell you this, but every time I tell myself that I'm the best at whatever it is that I'm doing, and then, you know, I'm attracting that.
Then you become the
I'm
best.
attracting that,
it's,
and
it's an issue when if offense is saying that. When people normally say like choose one thing and get good.
Yeah.
Offense is like, no, I'm just gonna get good at everything. So he's like, no, get good at what you're doing. It just happens that I'm doing everything.
You need to be quiet with this. Somebody stop his mic.
Okay, cool. So for those of you that just joined, welcome. It's been fun so far. You've missed a lot, but we're going to proceed now. So just to give you guys some heads up, we're going through some questions and answer right now. I'm going to go back to Offense in a second. I just want to remind you guys, all the Black Friday deals, check them with your local retailers. There's a huge list of these things, so I'm not going to go through all of them. But you can make savings up to 12,500 Rand. And then also I want to let you guys know there's a raffle draw happening tomorrow and the day after tomorrow on the same time. We have 2 more live streams to come on vlogging and so on. So how it works is you just go to the alphauniverse-mea.com and you register for one of these activities. So you can register in general and then you just log in to register on the specific activities, and then you stand a chance to win 2,000 Rand voucher. There's only 2 vouchers that we'll be giving, one tomorrow and the one on Friday. So right now I'm gonna give over back to Offense before we go into more questions. But yeah, Offense, I think you can take it away for now.
Yeah, cool. As always, thanks guys for joining us on this live stream.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure chilling with my boys from Cape Town. We all know that Joburg is better, but yeah, you know, Cape Town has to get there with. Yeah, so
I'm not gonna argue. You're right.
Yeah, cool. So I would say 2020 is one of the best years of my life because, you know, well, in terms of the work side, I'm not trying to say the pandemic is not affecting us or anything. It is. It pretty much is. But the fact that, you know, I think it was just before, like just after the whole thing hit, I got contacted, or just before actually, the Sony team contacted me, and I was like super happy to hear that they have some opportunities for us to come and work with Sony. So it was the best thing ever. So yeah, I think just to continue what we're talking about, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about a video that I recently shot on the Sony A7S III. It's actually a music video for Soweto's Finest, a dance group that I always work with, that I've shot a bunch of videos with in the past couple of years. Yeah, so the video is called Soweto, and the video is called Soweto. It's by Soweto's Finest, which is quite funny. So yeah, we shot this video on the Sony A7S III, and I remember I had a 12 to 24 mm lens. I also had a 24 to 70. So my biggest mission on using this camera was effectively to test out the autofocus on the camera, the low light capability, as well as just using the Venice color science just to expose all my images, just to show that how it can handle for music videos, as most people know me for music videos. So yeah, the camera is quite incredible. Hold on, you can cue the music video there. And the video was quite an impromptu thing that we did with them, and the fact that they came through and then we got to shoot these amazing visuals out of this camera was really cool. The biggest thing that I really loved about the Sony a7S III, like I said, is the autofocus capabilities. Like the way this camera autofocuses is so uncanny. Being myself as a filmmaker, whenever I go on set, I'm never alone. So this camera allows you to be a one-person shooter in a sense. Because on set I always have a focus puller, I always have an AC. All of these people are handling different things on the music video. So the fact that I can go on set and shoot pictures and expose them with this camera the way that it does, and the autofocus literally handles everything else, is just like the pie. What is it? The cherry on top. It was literally the biggest cherry on top that I really enjoyed about the camera. And the Venice color science. As you can see, we shot during the day. I was shooting with mostly the 12 to 24. I just wanted to see how it handles capturing people's faces as well as exposing like the background. For instance, the sky. There was a lot of sun in the shots that I was shooting, and the fact that the camera could handle shooting the people's face as well as exposing for the sky, it just shows that the dynamic range on the camera is really incredible. And I remember when we were in post, I pushed the image quite a lot. I remember I was bringing down highlights so that they can even be even perfecter than what they looked like with the 50 stops dynamic range. And the fact that the camera handled it so well, it was just so incredible, because that's literally what a filmmaker wants. I just want to be able to pop out my camera, expose a shot, and then even if I get to post and I want to fix something, I'm able to do that. So the 12 beta allows you for you to do that, and it was just so cool. And then moving on in the video, we had some low light shots. I remember I had very small lights. I had LEDs that aren't even super powerful, you know. All I wanted was to use them to add some color onto the scene, and that's exactly what they did. And I popped them in, I popped the camera on, and I switched, I pumped up the ISO like quite crazy. I remember I was shooting at 100 shutter so that my stuff doesn't appear too blurry on some of the shots. And the fact that the camera could handle at such a high ISO when I'm shooting with this camera, like it's so cool, because even in post, if there's shots here on this video, I didn't even put any noise reduction on any of the shots. I know there's a couple shots that were like slightly a little bit noisy, but it wasn't like so horrible that you can't even use it. And I know once I post it onto YouTube, all that stuff is going to disappear anyway. So the fact that the camera was handling so well for me, and I could get these clean images out of it without it breaking down in post, without it, you know, crashing down all my colors, I was like, mwah, I was super happy. So yeah, the a7S III. Also, the other thing that I really love about the camera is just the ergonomics, like how small it is. I got to be in positions where I literally had a gimbal. That gimbal was like this tiny, and then the camera has incredible stabilization as well on it. So the fact that my gimbal was literally like that big, actually, if you look at the behind the scenes photos, I actually look ridiculous with that thing. But the fact that it's getting such clean, sharp images and like that are usable, perfectly usable for me, is just like the cherry on top that I needed from this very camera. And then moving on to the demo. Speaking about size, the other thing that I wanted to test out on these demos that we were shooting is how it handles with a gimbal. So imagine coupling a camera that has excellent stabilization with an actual gimbal. Like, what are you gonna get? I think it opens a portal into another universe. I'm sure it definitely does. So the fact that I can couple these two things together, and I remember I didn't use the hectic one. I didn't use the active, right? Yeah, I didn't use active. I just used the normal one, and the pictures came out literally as what you're seeing right now. And that's when again we tested out the low light. I remember I just had lights, tubes. We just had tubes, those tubes that you're seeing at the back. That's all we had on that scene. I didn't have another light coming in and hitting them on their faces. But when you look at the pictures, you know, you can see your characters. You can see how beautiful they look. They look incredible in the setting, and you can see the dancing. You can see how they're dancing. You can see the style that they're dancing in. So the fact that the camera can handle that stuff so well, it makes it a perfect tool for any filmmaker. Most of the time we find that we go on set and we don't have lighting, or we just have to use the natural light. I know a lot of filmmakers like to use the light that's there. You'll find good to, maybe you're in a Chinatown area, I know they love lights there. You want to use those lights that they have there. All you're doing is popping out your camera and you're shooting and you're exposing these perfectly awesome like images out of there. And the fact that it just doesn't do this only on picture, it also does it on video. Like, I don't know, to be honest, there's no good stuff that you can say more about this thing. Like, you'd have to be like, I don't know, foolish to not want to be using a camera that has this kind of capabilities. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience with the camera. And yeah, I'm so happy that I have this body and I can use it to do what I need to do when it comes to filming. Yeah.
So thanks, Ofentse. So we have, again, like all these questions. So I'm going to start to actually allocate them because I think they make sense in the context of you guys showing the photos, showing the videos and everything.
Yeah.
So the first question that I have here is, I love Sony, but I've been afraid to go over because of the color science, which makes it hard to color grade for beginners specifically. Is the color science improved in the newer models and also in the beginner Sony Alpha models? So yeah, I think you guys take it away.
Yeah, I think we shot. Sorry, did I?
No, go.
Yeah, we recently shot quite a lot with the A7 III and the A7 C, and we jumped between these spaces where we were literally doing a shoot for like someone's Instagram page, and then we're shooting like a full like broadcast TV advert, and yeah, like currently we are incredibly happy with the color science, especially color science on skin. I think that, like we're a rainbow nation, and I think that cameras have done particularly poorly up until this point at replicating black skin tones. And this new color science, we've been phenomenally happy with it.
Yeah, it handles quite well. And also, I hear you saying, like, you as a beginner, there's color profiles that you can actually use on the camera that they can literally be, I just have my camera, I bang it out, and I can just use that clip exactly as it is. You don't always have to use S-Log. You don't always have to do like your Cine cameras, your Cine 4s and stuff. You can just have that profile on. The biggest thing that you have to take note of is your exposure. So the biggest advice I can give you is try not to overexpose stuff, because if stuff is overexposed, it's very hard to recover. So rather underexpose. And then what you can do in post is that you lift your shadows, and then it comes to that part where you have good exposure all throughout your shots. So always protect your highlights and make sure that you expose that nicely, and then everything else will come into place. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I mean, yeah, Luke, Luke normally doesn't enjoy grading that much, and you've been doing the last couple of videos, and I think you've been...
Yeah, it's been so much easier and better with the S3. And the color science always used to be a bit of it was like a contention point for Sony.
Yeah.
But with these, I mean, they've really done it so well now. I remember when you were looking at the A7C for the first time, when you were playing around with it, you were like,
what the heck?
Why is this
exactly
so
like
good?
So exactly.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think Sony talked about the A7C color science, but it's beautiful.
It's the S3's color science,
Yeah.
It is.
which means it's like the Venice.
Yeah, dude, it looked incredible. I was like,
very nice.
I couldn't believe it. I held that camera for like a good 20 minutes, and I was just looking at everything.
It's no longer a contention point. It's great.
So we have so many questions here. So we have another one, Ofentse and Luke and Hloni. What is your favorite picture profile on the A7 S3 specifically?
Ooh. Good.
That is a good one. Should I start?
Lightning round.
Quickly.
Okay, so it's changed, but now it's the S-Log 3 on the A7S3.
Oh, damn.
Dude, good. That dynamic range though, guys, it is amazing.
And it doesn't like grading.
I don't. But after trying it out, I'm sold. That's my favorite color profile.
Perfect. Yeah.
I think I'm quite, like, we've flipped now. I'm like a huge HLG evangelist now. So like PP2, that's the bass.
No, HLG2.
Yeah, so HLG2, like, yeah, I think that, like, in terms of, because, I mean, I did just get back from holiday. I don't know if I said that. No, I know I said it multiple. Yeah, but if I'm running and gunning and I just want, like, the best image afterwards, with also, like, a weird amount of, like, post control as well, like dynamic range, I'll go for that HLG2.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. For me, I'm kind of split. I love S-Log 3, but I also love S-Log 2. So I usually use them both. So if I'm shooting during the day, I'll use S-Log 3, and then if I'm shooting at night, I'll use S-Log 2. That's pretty much how I do it.
Yeah.
Those are my faves.
So we have another question here on the battery life, actually, on the newer models. Is the battery life better on the newer models? Just show them that.
Yeah.
This is what happened. I was on set, and I was shooting at night. Literally, that video that you guys saw earlier, I shot it on 2 batteries. And I was shooting at night, and then my battery ran out, I think at around 8:30. And then it was blinking, it didn't run out. It was blinking at around 8:30. And I was panicking, I was like, I don't have all the shots I need, And I kept shooting, I didn't stop. I think I shot for another probably 35 minutes with it blinking like that. And then that's when it finally died. So for me, that's it. Like, I don't know, you can't beat that. The battery is dope. Because I know these mirrorless bodies with those small batteries, they run out pretty quickly. On this camera, that thing ran for a while, and I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
You saved me, actually. The battery saved me.
I'm not going to lie, the S3 does go through batteries a bit faster than like the 7C and the 7 III.
Yeah.
But I mean, with all the settings, with all the codecs and bit rates you're getting, that's
and then 120
very fair to understand. And it's still 100% usable.
Yep.
It's something we don't worry about anymore.
It's literally like variable to what you're using. So if you're shooting like 4K 25, you're gonna get get that battery life that you are used to with the 7 III. So like and then like exactly, you switch over to 4K 100. You've got like an hour and a half of actual video shooting instead of like 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
Oh damn!
When you think
So
about
sad.
like how long that actually is, it's phenomenally young. We did I think a 4-hour hike, and I was shooting 4K 100. I was being very excessive. I was shooting 4K 100 the whole time, and lasted lunch, lasted tea time, lasted the viewpoint. Like it was a whole day battery life at 4K 100, which is not a normal use case.
If you're shooting a lot, maybe you're shooting a wedding, I would say the sweet spot is 4 batteries. If you have 4 batteries, you'll run the whole
4
thing.
batteries?
Yeah, 4.
How much are you shooting?
You're shooting
I've
shooting
never
a lot.
used more than 2 in
Yeah,
one day.
exactly.
We have 4 cameras, and I think we have like 6 batteries. Actually, that's a perfect indication. Like real on set. Like we work for a living. We have 4 cameras, 4 cameras with the new Z-type batteries, and we have 6 batteries. Like that's the buffer zone.
It gives you an idea. Yep.
Okay, cool. So we actually have another question here. It's more statement and then a question. So the dynamic range, is so sick. Which log did you use, Offense, in your videos?
On the videos that you saw, I used S-Log 3. It was a little bit noisy on the stuff that we shot indoors. But the fact that, when you're pushing the image so well in post, and then that noise literally disappears. It wasn't like hectic noise. It was like very, very fine grain that actually looks nice for the video.
There's no more color noise.
There's no color noise.
You just get like filmic.
You get cinematic filmic noise, which is like superb. And once you knock in like your noise reduction, like dude, your shot is perfect.
And that's what's cool about the S3 is even when you go to that higher ISO, like 12,800 now, you also get that dynamic range back for
the dual
S-Log
ISO.
3.
Is it a dual ISO? What is
They
it?
don't say.
We're not allowed to say, but
it's
yes, it's
like
15 stops at the base, and then it's like 14 and a half
Yeah.
at the next
At the
level,
next
right?
level,
So you
yeah.
can't set your ISO. But
Yeah.
we shot a music video where we like went from like scorching sun to like an abandoned like farmhouse deep in the farmhouse,
Yeah.
and being able to just go from like what were the bases? So it's like 500
500
to
to
12,800.
yeah.
And
It was
there's
incredible.
there's no like you're not even like putting an ND on and working it through.
Yeah.
You're just like cool, one space to another, instant dynamic range.
You can see better than you can see. It's crazy.
With your eyes, yeah.
Yeah, it's like seeing in the dark.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Then we have a bunch of like really cool comments and stuff. People saying impressive and well done and amazing advice and everything.
Nice.
And then we have something else. Is it 4K or 8K? Since lately that is what's coming out. And what do you shoot on yourself?
Okay, so I would say, to be honest, I've been shooting stuff. I've been shooting commercials. I shoot stuff that you're gonna see on TV. I shoot music videos that you're also gonna see on TV, and you're also gonna see that stuff online. All the commercials, literally all the commercials I've shot,
1080p.
there does not exist a 4K commercial online. Doesn't exist. All of them are intended.
You cannot give DSTV.
Nah.
Yeah, their requirement
literally,
is 1080p.
You cannot give them a 4K,
A 4K
commercial.
file, yeah.
So
They will reject
They will
it.
reject
yeah,
it.
you
won't
can't-
pass.
So just get that out of your head. You don't need 8K. Trust me. All you need is a good camera that can shoot 4K, and you'll be happy. You'll be good for the next probably 5 years or so, even longer than that. You don't need 8K. 8K for me, it feels like a gimmick. It literally is a gimmick. It's good for if you're doing stuff like hectic VFX, where you're gonna do compositing and stuff. It's good for that. But if you're not doing
But
that
even
stuff,
4K is,
just know
Yeah.
even 4K is
as long
excessive.
as it's sharp, it's good
This
for that.
camera, you can bang it on 1080 and it looks incredible. Trust
Yeah,
me. Just test
that's
it
true.
out if you don't believe me. Put the stuff in post. You can even take the 1080 and upscale it, and it'll still look that good. So don't believe the hype with the 8K stuff. Don't believe it.
I do think though, I think that as Luke drops off the frame, I think that we did have like a bit of a difficult push and pull,
Yeah.
where we're all enthusiasts, right? Like we're sitting in this room, like we love cameras,
Yeah.
and we love making this stuff. So our stuff, I know we do 4K personally, right?
Yeah.
Because when you put it online, you can
It's
control
gonna
that,
look
right?
like
But I think we did have this push and pull where it was like, cool, like do I shoot this in 4K or like or can I like or do I shoot this in 1080 and have the ability to either you change your frame or you change your speed rate, right?
Mm.
It's slow-mo.
Yeah, this was again the first like trip that I was able to do where I took the A7 S3 out the studio, and that wasn't I didn't have to make that calculation,
Yeah.
right? Of like this is a really cool waterfall, or
How
like
do I
these
shoot
are
it?
literal
Exactly.
like these are like petals falling down from a tree. I want to get this in 4K for this fidelity, for my library, for my like 4K deliverable that I'm making myself. But now on the A7 S3, I can slow that down.
Yeah, it's
And-
4K with no compromise.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't crop in the dudes. Like
Yeah, it's like
mind
like
blower.
good 4K. Yeah,
And it's incredible. Like usually 100 frames, you can see the artifacts
there's
on
no,
it.
exactly.
There are no artifacts. Like when I'm shooting 25
It's
or
just as
100 or
good.
120,
Yeah.
it's the same. So
Yeah.
magic, man. It's magic guy.
Yeah.
He's a magic guy.
So I'm gonna allow for 4 more questions because we have 1 billion coming in here. I can't even keep up. So I'm gonna allow for 4 more. So we have another question here from Kesnik. Since I'm still blank with such, does the face detection I just saw help with autofocus? Woo, big answer actually, huh?
Comments up.
I mean,
Face detection.
Yeah.
it's past that.
Yeah, it's not face detection's old news. It's now eye detection.
Eye detection.
I mean, you can. It's kind of strange when we were shooting our music video. It was on the 24 1.4, so it was super narrow depth of field, and we were moving around our lead on a bed and moving behind like the pole on the bed, and it was just like locked on her eye.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
to the
it is.
point where Yeah, autofocus has been a bit of a like, no, real filmmakers don't use autofocus. But now it's like insane. I was so impressed.
You can only get, it's that thing of like, now you can get shots that you weren't able to before, right? Like either I have to like fly or fence it out to pull focus for me because there's like 3 people in the country who can pull focus like past F2.
Exactly.
Or like I now have autofocus that works,
there
right?
we go. Yeah. And another thing, just because it's autofocus doesn't mean that you're stuck with it. Because I remember when we were filming with Jack, remember he was doing some shots where he's following hands. And it wasn't just hands, it was actually food as well.
Exactly.
So he could actually pull focus to where he wants it to be, like manually. So it's not like you're stuck with the autofocus. You can still manually pull focus and get exactly what you want.
But you also have just to go like you have full control. You can go eye autofocus, and then if you go behind stuff, the only thing it's looking for is eyes, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to change focus until it sees another eye or that eye, right?
Yeah.
You can go, I need you to pull focus from here to here within this time span. And it'll go zhup, 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 right? Or I need you to, if I go past an object, wait this long to pull between. All of that is in the menu
camera,
now, right? So like it is manual focus levels of control and conscientious and it's also about repeatability then, right? If I do a gimbal shot and I have this action, if I dial in the autofocus correctly, then the cast can do it as many and I'm not moving the camera, running my feet, and then doing these like manual focus pulls as we're going.
And shaking the camera while you do it.
Yeah, exactly. it's a crew. It's part of your crew. Autofocus for video has like changed things so much.
It's a game changer.
Okay, so 3 more questions. Do you prefer shooting with wide lenses or telephoto lenses for compression in video?
There we go.
They love this question.
It's for these two.
Wait, what was that again? Sorry.
So let me repeat. Do you prefer shooting with wide angle lenses or telephoto lenses for compression in video?
Okay, so I love wides. I think with the video that I showed you earlier, you can also detect that. So I love wides. Like I'm a guy who comes from a landscape background, On my Instagram, if you go on it, at Uncle Scrooge, follow at Uncle Scrooge right now. If you check that out, I have a lot of landscape stuff. I'm not really a portrait person. It's not that I hate portraits or anything. It's just not something that I do. So when it comes to video, wides are my go-to. Like whenever I get to a location, I'll look at it and be like, okay, if I get mine a wide, what's it gonna look like? That's what I start with first. And then once I bang those out, that's when I can go to more telephoto stuff. But the wides are I go to for me. For instance, I can shoot a whole video with wides without using any tight lenses. And it's just my style. And I think it works for what I do, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I use wides a lot. I love them. But it's also a bit to my detriment because I know you get, as Flonnie will tell you, you do get that more accurate compression at around 50 millimeters or higher. So I often need to hold back and be like, am I just using this wide because I love it, or is it actually the best choice? And often the wide isn't the best choice in that scenario. So it really depends on the shot and what mood you're going for. But wides are still my favorite, I would say.
I think the last 2 questions are really valuable, both for the viewers and also for us sitting here. So I'm going to leave a really cool question from Ndira for the last, but right now a question I think this is going to provide a lot of value, especially for the young people watching, people that's aspiring to join the industry and everything. So I'm interested in cinematography. Which camera would you suggest for me as a beginner, starting out? I'm assuming this is more a question like, if I get a camera now, will it last me long enough until I can make a proper purchase?
Cool. So I think I would suggest that you try out the Sony A6000 series. They have fantastic cameras there. I started using the Sony A6400 when it dropped. I was actually literally here when it launched, and I loved the camera so much that I went and bought it the next week because it was such a nice small form factor, and the fact that it shoots so nicely. Because I remember My main camera used to be the Sony A7S III, and I would shoot my B-roll on the A6400. And then when I look at the footage in post, dude, I would say that even the 6400 in 4K, it looked even better than the A7S II, because obviously the color science was better because
And it's
it's a later
downscaled
camera.
from 6K.
Exactly, and it's downscaled from 6K. So it looked incredible. I was like, what the heck? This camera actually matches the A7S II? That's insane. So yeah, I would suggest that you get an A6000 series, whether it be a 6000, a 6400, 6500, or 6600. So just see what you can afford, and that's a camera. They also take nice photos as well. And I think if you try those out, if you don't have a lot of budget. But if you have a bigger budget, obviously try out the Sony A7 series, whether it be a A7S II or A7 III.
A7C would be the best.
A7C would
say
also
that,
be
yeah,
like
I think
magical.
for years now, like if 100 people asked me, like, and you want to do anything in photography, if 100 people asked me what camera should I get, my answer would have been A6300, A6400, right? Like it is just, there's a reason. I think it's been the top selling camera on Amazon for
a
like
long
4
time.
years or
6,000.
something, right?
Yeah, I think it's
But
still sad.
I think that I do think that if you feel a trajectory, right? If you feel any kind of momentum in the space, I think getting the A7C will be the camera that
game
you
changer
can
for you.
also
That is
you'll
an
have
amazing
in
camera.
like 5 years time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right, like no
100%.
matter what else you accrue, like it's the camera that it will hold you, it will accompany you as you begin shooting,
Yeah.
and then like as far as you want to go, it
Yeah.
will go with you.
It'll go with
And I think that like that's like a super important consideration. Somebody asked way back of like, should I get into Sony, right? And it's that conversation of like, these are professional tools,
Yeah.
like these are creative tools, and if you buy into an ecosystem, it's a relationship, right?
Yeah.
I cannot fathom. I've been so lucky. Like before I was an ambassador, when I got on board with this brand, and at no point did I ever feel like, cool, like you came out with this thing and now like you've ignored me in part of the conversation of this thing, right? So in the same way that like the A7C as a camera specifically will grow with you, like the A7S III has taught us that like Sony is here to grow with us as well. Like they are going to listen to everything that you were thinking about. Where I know that like the A7S III, it's literally everything I've ever wanted in a camera.
Exactly.
And I know that in 5 years' time, like I'm going to be having this conversation again.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's any other owner of a camera brand, like there's any other camera brand that you can say that of now, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, A7S III is not going to be that good. And Luke and I fought about it.
Argued about it.
Because like it's a natural oscillation, right? Like this brand pushes, then this brand pushes, then this brand pushes, and there's this push and pull, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, no, turns out if you just listen to your user base and give them what they want,
You will get sold out.
it's all good, right? So now I'm like cautiously optimistic. Luke and I might be arguing again in 5 years. But yeah. It shocked me how much they listened. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So like we can still be together now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I was like, Clonia's gonna have this and this and this. Clonia's like, no, just go away.
Yeah.
Just set your expectations at a realistic level. I don't want you to be disappointed.
That's it.
Yeah.
So A7C, long-winded answer.
Yeah, A7C if you can afford it, but
Yeah.
the A6000 series, there's a
So
bunch
There's a
of cameras
bunch,
there that are great
At all
options
prices.
Yeah, and you can buy full-frame lenses for that camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
too.
And then
Longevity.
For the future
Live up.
upgrade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so we have one more question. I know it's like 10 minutes past 8 and we're all like super hungry. But this next question is actually pretty incredible. Before I get to it, I just want to remind you guys Tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock, we're having a stream again. This time it's going to be about vlogging, content creation. There's going to be stuff and questions around that. And then just to remind you, Black Friday deals, check it with your retailer. There's savings up to 12,500 Rand, which is massive. It's huge. This promotion is like all Black Friday long, of course, until stocks last. But it's very aggressive, so take advantage of it while it's going. So this next question, I actually can't believe we got it, but I need to ask it. It's so good. Okay, it's from Ndira. Thank you for your cool question. So the question is there any room for improvement for Sony, or have they perfected the aspect of photography and filmmaking? I love this question.
Ooh, that's a beautiful question.
That's a tough one. I mean, I think it was, you guys were asking us, is there anything that you want from the, like, in new cameras and stuff? And my only gripe was that the shutter doesn't close when you turn off the camera, which is like, it's like the smallest thing, but that's like as criticizing as I could get. Like that was it. Otherwise, like, you got me. Like,
Yeah, makes sense.
and that could be fixed with the firmware update. Please
Yeah.
fix it with the firmware update. It's a bit annoying.
For me, I feel the biggest thing they well, not really the biggest, but something that they can improve on with what they have now is only the dynamic range, to be honest, because everything else is there in this camera. Like if they can just keep pushing, that dynamic range gets even higher and higher. We want to take that other. We want to take this thing out of the game.
It's because you
This
walk
camera
out
must
of
go.
here and you're out on an Ari. So
But funny thing
No,
is,
fair enough.
Ari, the stop is actually 14. It's
Exactly.
not even. It's not
Yeah, the
even 15.
S3 is
So,
even
yeah.
higher.
So the SP is quite higher. So to be honest, that's the biggest. Right now, the A7 S3, I don't care what anybody says, is literally the perfect camera. for
Basically,
any
a
kind of
fencer
shooting.
wants Sony to defy the laws of
Of
physics.
physics.
That's
exactly.
the only way he
That's the
feels they
only
can
way
improve.
this camera can get better. That's what I'm trying to say to you guys.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really enjoyed the question. There's like so many other questions. So you guys will have some homework. You're welcome to go
Yeah.
answer the questions.
drop us a DM on Instagram. Drop us comments on Instagram. We're all accessible. We'll answer your questions. Offense is ruefully
already
looking
here.
through, so he wants to be answering your questions. Yeah, and the great thing about Sony Alpha is that like we are accessible creators, right?
Yes.
We're ambassadors because we love talking about learning
Yes.
and talking about the gear. So please reach out
Yeah.
to us.
Instagram,
Offense is
Facebook,
hiring.
whatever.
You heard it here first.
Hey, shut up. I'm not hiring. Now listen to this guy. Last time I said that, we got 6,000 shares in 2 hours. So please, there's no such thing. There's no such thing.
But you can drop him a DM and ask him questions.
Yeah, guys, I'm mostly answering. The biggest DMs I answer is Instagram. So hit me up on Instagram
Or
and
comment on his photo.
Or comment on my photo.
That's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
That's it. That's pretty much
Awesome.
it.
So take advantage of this trip right here. All their Instagram handles is just here. Also, Sony Alpha SA way at the bottom. So, like they just said, use them or lose them. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so yeah, we will see you guys tomorrow. We're gonna end off this session. Thank you guys so much for
Thank
the
you.
talk.
Nice.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Thank you
Thank
guys. We
you.
enjoyed ourselves. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. It was awesome. It's always good.
Thank you to
Chilling
that
with
man
my
over
homies.
there. Yeah.
And
phenomenal
just
job.
the final word, just remember, Johannesburg is better than Cape Town.
Here we
Thank you
go,
very
here we
much. Thank
Cool.
you. Love y'all.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Why was
Contact
it
your
so short?
retailers, contact them, enjoy it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember to register for these activities, stand a chance to win in the raffle draw tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing the first raffle draw, so that's going to be exciting, so you can stay tuned for that one.
Herman,
Thanks guys.
they want to talk with us more.
I'm
Can we not
sure
have
they
that?
want to.
They just want to hang out.
I'm sure. Okay, cool. Thanks so much guys and have an
Nice
awesome
one.
evening.